Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to start our open study session. This is for the proposed 2019-2020 local and major street budget with John Salmi, our DPW Director, Dan Brooks with Wade Trim, Nicole Akel with Plant and Moran.
Nicole's not here.
Okay.
She doesn't need to be here.
Director Salmi?
Okay, good evening. Yep, we are here for the proposed budget, so I came in late in this process. It was pretty much well on its way. I did work with the mayor, Plant Moran, and Wade Trim to go over the budget. We have identified some areas of pavement for the next year's paving season, which when this budget is approved will help start the design, and hopefully we can get this out to bid sooner than later for next year, because the amount of work that's out there and the amount of contractors that are out there to do that work is it's very competitive and driving prices fairly high. So the sooner we can get this done, the better off we'll be. I'm gonna hand it off to Dan, and if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to help answer.
All right, the budget's laid out in basically 4 pages. All right, if you look at page 1.
AA.
Okay.
Pardon me?
It's item 8A.
Which,
Yeah,
Do you have a copy of the budget?
Packet.
It's in your packet. It's
Yeah,
That's part of the regular council meeting, though, right?
Yes, but we just
The
wanted
voting.
to bring it to your attention now, in
Okay.
case you had any questions or anything, then that's the regular budget.
Got it.
All right, so first page is basically a summary of the 18-19 budget, where it stands at June 30th, 2019. And then on the far right-hand 2 columns are the major and local street forecasted budgets. All right, if you look at the revenue line items, you have your gas and weight taxes, majority of your money, which is your Act 51 dollars. A little bit of interest, and there is some transfer of funds from the local to major street categories. If you go look at the expenditures, again, most of it is road construction, along with some maintenance that's done by E&N Cement. You got snow and ice, some administration, and then you see items that come to council for traffic invoices, a lot of them from Wayne County, MDOT. Okay. If you look at page 2, it's basically the first page. I do not understand the Plant Moran's methodology going from page 1 to page 2. The information is on both pages. I think the important part is page 3. It lists the projects that are requested in this year's budget. If you look at they start at the top, the major streets, we have Annapolis from Grinley Park to Monroe, that's this year's, that's completed. Fenton from Georgia Hass, that's going to start in 2 weeks, all right. Local street is, we have the second half of Lewis Manor, that is currently out for bid, and then the bids are coming in June 26th. And then we have George Avenue, again, that's going to start in about 2 weeks, along with Fenton. All right, going into looking at 19 and 20, which is starting July 1, we will continue with Annapolis Avenue from Monroe to Harding, continue with Fenton from Hass to Richardson. Then we have Charlesworth, all the way from Ford to Ashley, which is just south of Warren Road. And then a section of a gully from Hass to Richardson. And that's the major streets. The local streets, the area basically in Dearborn Meadows, Dearborn Manor, Kingswood, Flecker, Waters, Ford, subs. We're going to do some panel repairs on those subs. We'll go through and correct the defective panels. And we do have a little section on the Canfield Circle by Canfield Center that we're going to remove it. There's a small concrete section. We're going to remove it and put asphalt down. All right. And then on the bridges, 2017 is, or 2019, 2020, we have to do the inspection of the bridges again every 2 years. And there are some dollars to do some maintenance on bridges. So that's basically the projects that have been outlined in the budget. So if there's any questions on the selection or...
Councilman Muscat.
Number one, I'm still waiting for Hass to be repaired from
will be
the
repaired.
previous contract.
Yes, they'll be repaired when Fenton and George's started in 2 weeks.
Okay,
That's-
and then the Lewis Manor subdivision that was
The
poorly
contractor
done.
still is,
I received a phone call yesterday, excuse me, from a homeowner there, and I'm on that street every day.
Right.
I go visit my mom, so I see what he says. He has nothing but a pool in front of his house, water that he never had before. Plus, there's no curbs anymore. People are actually parking, when they park in front of his house, since there's no curb, they get onto his lawn, break his sprinkler system. He asked about the curbs, and they said they didn't have any money in the curb fund. Now, do we have a curb fund?
no, the elevation, the elevation of the road is the same as it was before they milled it.
There's no curb, even in my house, my mother, right in front of my mother's
the
house, it's
curb is-
6382
the curb
Fairwood.
becomes
They
somewhat
repaired a
bare.
part of a curb, but I could have got a sixth grader to do a better job than that. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
This is no joke. And I think that Mr. Abdullah has seen this.
I seen the same
curb
thing.
job was done horribly.
Bad.
Okay? And I'm not going to pay any money to these contractors if they do a job like that. So you can say zero to them, because that was a horrible, horrible job.
Including a crack down the middle.
Oh, yeah, that nothing was sealed.
Contractor is still scheduled to come in and,
Yeah, but what are we going to do
Sealing.
about the curbs now?
the curbs have always been, if you want to say buried to where there's only
I
about
lived in
3
that,
inches.
I lived in that neighborhood, sir, for,
Right.
I can't tell you how many years. The curbs were good. I
Okay,
lived there. I know what the curbs look like.
Councilwoman Hicks
I mean, I
Clayton.
went over them with a bicycle at one time, so I do know what they will look like.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Council Chair. My question and concern is more like the guarantee and warranty on the road work that's being done. For example, a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, the entranceway on Rosemary and Golfview Manor was redone. It is like a washboard, and it was addressed with our current, or not our current, I'm sorry, our previous DPW director. It has not been resolved. So therefore, what type of guarantee is being done to hold the contractors accountable, not only with the quality of work, but even, is there a 5-year warranty, something? So these roads are not being torn up and in disrepair so short notice, because it's costly to do this work.
Right. No, there is a 1-year, it's standard 1-year warranty guarantee on the work upon final acceptance of the project.
Okay,
That's standard. If the council
Just-
elects, we
yeah.
can extend that. It's just a matter, it does cost more to extend the warranties.
It's too bad that entrance to Rosemary wasn't taken care of. It's quite bad. Feels like a washboard when you go over it. And you're going slowly because you're turning off a Warren.
Councilman Abdullah.
So I had a couple of questions. First of all, in regards to the one Councilman Muscat is referencing, and I know we've talked about it many times in the past, it is pretty bad, and it is June, so with due respect to the contractor, it definitely should have been repaired by now.
He was supposed to have been out there earlier, but he,
Yeah, and then the curb that he's talking about, that's also pretty bad. It is pretty flat. I'm not an expert on roads, but like he mentioned, anybody looking at that can tell that that was not
But
done
again,
well.
when you-
And a crack right down the middle, like the whole street, not a crack, like a gap.
Right.
It looks like a crack, but so basically where they put, almost like they put two sections together. It just doesn't look good.
Yeah, it
That's
needs
the
to-
bottom line.
needs to be sealed.
And with the crack there, with the winter, obviously going and coming, that's going to eventually open up. So a couple questions in regards to the budget, if you could answer, if you don't mind for me. One of them is on snow and ice. I noticed that there was, on local actual, there was 129,797, and then the local, for the projected for 2019, dropped to 91. That's a pretty significant drop of about 30 or 40%. Do you know why there's such a large drop?
Well, a couple things is, one, reduce salt purchase. So
In bulk?
the amount of salt that they were purchasing in the past seemed a little bit excessive, so I have taken it upon myself to reduce the salt purchase. So our agreement, when we go out to, we went to my bid, we're part of that group. So we have to, whatever we sign up for, we signed up for 2,000 tons. We have to purchase a minimum of 80 of it and a max of 120, so that gives us some wiggle room.
Okay, okay, so obviously you're doing your due diligence, thank you. Second question I had, if you look at the projected budget for 6/30/2019, and you look at the excess revenue that's left over after expenditures, you've got on the major roads, 1.38 million, on the local, 412,000, and then you have a beginning fund balance of 973, almost $1 million, and a fund balance, that's for the major, and then a fund balance of a little bit over $1 million for the local. Both of those combined to have an ending fund balance in 2019 for the major of 2.3 million and a local of 1.4, so about 1.5 million, 1.4 and some change. The question is, with so much left over, are we not budgeting properly? Or B, if that's already there and hypothetically it can't be changed and we've already taxed people, and we've already received the revenues, then why not use it for a lot of the roads that are pretty, I mean, you know, I drive all the streets all day in my job, so there are some pretty bad roads, as there are obviously throughout the state of Michigan. But why don't we use those numbers? And the page I'm looking at, just for references, page, that'd be page number 2, right in the center. And that's the ending fund balance of 2.3 million and 1.4 million. And it seems like that's quite a bit.
But actually, if you go to page 1, those are the actual numbers. So the ending fund balance for major.
I'm sorry, I am looking at page 1. I apologize, page 1.
The ending fund balance is 946, 429 for majors and 324 and change.
Okay, you're looking at a different page than mine.
Yeah, we're
Now-
spending almost all of it,
The
and
part-
we got to keep some of it in because there could be problems that develop.
The
and-
part of this is, some of this fund balance that's in June of 19 are projects that have already been approved and awarded, but they're not completed by June of this year, so they're rolling over to next year's, and they're in this next year's budget.
I see what you're referencing.
So
Okay.
these dollars, even though there's excessive dollars at the end of June, because what's difficult is having a budget approved in July 1st to get plans completed and start construction. You start in the spring, you can't get everything done before end of June.
I see.
So every year, we roll some of the dollars or projects into next year's.
And that high of an amount's fine?
Right, because these dollars, if you look at the top of page 3, the projects that are listed at the top are the projects that are being carried over. Okay.
Okay.
So
And-
we're carrying over about $1.5 million.
Okay, and then the last quick question for you on the subdivision ones. I presume, because some of these subdivisions are pretty big, obviously, I presume that's just as needed. You're not replacing everything in those
Right, no,
streets,
we'll
just
just
as
replace the
needed.
defective panels.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Bazey.
Okay, so you mentioned on one of them, you will send RFPs for different concrete companies to come in and do the work, right?
Correct. The projects
Is
will
that
be bid,
all of it or partial?
all of them.
Okay, so are you going to include the companies that we've had issues with, as Councilman Muscat
Well,
mentioned?
you-
I visited
you-
the same homes.
Right,
that
they
he's-
have the
I'm
right.
sorry, I'm not done.
Oh.
Okay, I've seen some of this stuff. I mean, I thought it was like a 5-year-old that actually did the concrete work, and it looks like Play-Doh, you know, around the curb. And I don't know why we keep getting the same companies, and I've seen the same thing, you know, the concrete's not even, and that's why that causes puddles when it rains. So why, are we gonna open it up for the same company that we're having issues with, concrete as well?
The bidding is open for any contractor. If they become the low contractor, then the city has to make a decision, do you want to award it to them? We can't exclude somebody from bidding if they have the right to bid.
I would think if we know the quality of work is not there, why will we continue to hire them?
Well, then we don't hire them, but we can't
Even if
exclude
they're the
them
low
from.
bidder, I
We
mean,
can't
they-
exclude them from bidding.
Ultimately, that's the council's decision. If the company that you've worked with previously and you're unhappy with and they are the low bidder, I mean, by all means, you can reject the lowest bid and go to the next bidder.
Yeah, 'cause
That's ultimately the council's decision.
I understand contractors can make mistakes, and as long as they come back and correct them, that's okay. But when they don't, and you said they should have started earlier and they didn't, I got concerns on that one.
Right.
Right.
But
But they are still going to do the repair. They have not said they're not going to do it.
Right, but they
Yeah, I'm
should have got that
disappointed.
done
I'm
already by
disappointed they're
now.
not there now either, but
I would, Councilman.
Well, I already had a turn, so let them say something
Councilman
first.
Wenzel.
I'd like to make a positive comment. I had nothing but praise about the Annapolis Avenue replacement, the speed that you guys did, the contractor. My hat goes off to everybody involved from the city and the contractors. The people said they were neat, backfilling was done properly, the driveways, approaches were all in, and not like I say, nothing but good comments about that job.
thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Hicks Clayton and then Councilman Muscat.
Thank you. My question's really simple. It's more of a request. I imagine you use a PACER system for determining the quality of the roads, the rating system. Do you have a report that you can submit to the council members? What's current, a current PACER
Right,
report?
right.
Would you be able to email that to us?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Muscat.
Concerning the resident that's complaining about the big puddle of water in his driveway, and in the wintertime, it's just very hazardous, especially to elderly people like himself, taking trash cans and out. What is the I mean, is Wade Trim going to go out there and look at this to see what went wrong with this?
Yeah, he's right there on,
Right at the curve on, before
Right.
as you turn, as you're going, I guess you would be going really north, and then it turns from Ford Road. There's a big curve there. There's a cul-de-sac there.
You talking Fairwood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could somebody email me that?
If you get the address,
I will get you the email
we do have
address.
one address we still have to correct.
And the other thing is, I believe we were supposed to do some sort of CSO project down there by Michigan Avenue and
Right.
Gully, which concerns Oakland Court.
Correct.
And West Hills. Do you know when that's supposed to start?
That, we will be requesting authorization to go out for design this fall, and it'll start in the spring of 2020.
I made a suggestion before, and I hope that you make a mental note. They've got a cul-de-sac on Oakland Court, the court itself. If they can shrink that so the garbage truck can go through
Around,
there.
right.
Because the neighbors now, they can't even cut the lawn, the trucks are going over it, and especially in the winter, they're tearing up the whole cul-de-sac.
Right. The
Or
entire,
remove it completely.
yeah, all the roads in that sub will be reconstructed.
Because a cul-de-sac nowadays, it's useless.
Right.
Okay, just people don't want to take care of them, and it just makes it hard for the snow removal. It'd be nice for the truck to be able to come down there, make the loop, and come on back down, so,
Yeah, we'll look at reducing the island.
or get rid of it completely.
Yeah,
Okay.
get rid of it.
Any, Councilman Wenzel?
Two quick things. When you guys do the sidewalks at an intersection, I've noticed, not on Annapolis, but some other streets, where the two sidewalks come down, they leave that little curb piece in the middle. Instead of making it smooth all the way down from both sides coming down, one side, the crossover like this, when it hit the street, they leave a little curb right in the middle between them. I mean, that seems like it's dangerous. You know what I'm talking about? Where two sidewalks come down into a street.
Right.
And then there's a little tiny piece of curb between the two sidewalks on the street. It's
So
like,
you do curb it down toward the
yeah,
gutter
but it'd be
line.
better. I see them where they just do the whole sidewalk, they join both of them together. And it's just one.
When it's a very tight,
Yeah.
yeah, that is an
Because sometimes
option.
there's just a curb that's this big. And it's like stupid because people, you're riding your bike or turning the corner, you hit that curb. I mean, that's something we should look into because every time I see it, I said, why did they bother putting a little curb right in the middle of the sidewalk area there? And the second thing is, can you tell us, I'm sure everyone wonders, what those little pads are at the end of the sidewalks when they come into the street, those
Well,
little orange pads?
It's part of ADA, so the
That's good.
handicap and the blind they're aware that there's
Oh, it's
a
for
road.
blind, so
Right.
they're aware they're coming to the
For
street?
ADA.
It's part of ADA compliant.
Okay, it's nothing to do with traction then for...
No,
okay.
And the
That's
ramps
why
have to be a certain slope, and so it's all
okay,
ADA.
cleared that up.
Any further questions? Okay, that concludes our study session. Now, council needs to move into a 5-minute closed study session.